What's going on, everybody? C4, welcome back to the channel. Just woke up 10 minutes ago. Got our morning juice here. Pinky's out. And we're going to watch this 8-minute video, Madden 23 franchise deep dive. It looks like I'm like one of the first people here. No views. Before we get into it, expectations. My realistic expectations is going to be everything that we got from the blog post. And most of you that clicked on this video are going to be in the comments to like vent and rant. I'm hoping that there's something in relation to customization. I would love for them to sneak in like, you know, Madden is a live service, right? So like maybe it's going to be not the stuff that was in the blog, but they're talking about what's coming at the end. Like what they're planning on releasing throughout the lifespan of franchise mode. Hopefully it's create a team. Like how are you not adding create a team? Or relocation refresh. Like relocation franchise modes gotta be some of the most popular ways that people want to engage in a franchise mode. It's been copy and paste for the last 5, 6, 7 years. Would love a refresh. Don't even need to reinvent the wheel. Let's just add some new cities, add some new jerseys, add some new logos. Bare minimum. So let's get into it here. Let's see what we're getting. I got the audio muted because I don't know if the background music would get triggered here. Connor Dugan. Don't think I've ever met that guy before. But if you did play the beta, a lot of this is probably going to be familiar. I guess it's kind of cool that we have, you know, screenshots. All right, look, they're showing off Josh McDaniels here. Franchise goal, enhance realism, upgrade authenticity. What was the other? So this is their mission statement. Enhance realism, upgraded authenticity, overall improved experience. Okay, those are kind of generic mission statements there, but all right, they're showing off free agent signings here, so that's fitting. So this was, you know, as you know, the pros. If I was leaving the beta, if I was leaving everything I learned from franchise mode, the pros was definitely this free agency. How they add these tags, motivations, the bidding system has changed a little bit. What makes players desirable to come to your team it's going to be difficult in free agency to just straight up be like, you know, you're in your final year, your rebuild. Not going to be able to sign 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 just by paying them the most money. There's probably going to be situations, and they happen in current Madden, where it's just you overpay a guy and they still won't come to your team. But it does feel like they've at least, you know, right now you get the interest bar, right? You get the interest bar, and you still have it in this game where it's like, all right, you want the green bar. But they have all those different values that makes up that green bar. And it feels like it's kind of been generic, and they've pulled it back a little bit and highlighted what makes these players in particular like raise those values, maybe lower those values, what your team's a strength at in terms of attracting free agents, and what your team is weak at in terms of attracting free agents. And like the best positive way, and my God, can we get over how bad those jerseys look? Like, that was one of my other big takeaways. I absolutely hate the look of, like, the player models. I don't know if that's just a personal thing. I don't even like, well, C4 looks more realistic. It literally looks like they're not wearing they're all wearing, like, the Michael Bennett shin pad. Like, are they not wearing shoulder pads right now? Is that the plan? If that's what they're going for, I guess. But it looks like they're just wearing those weird Michael Bennett shoulder pads that are, like, a youth, like a junior shoulder pad. But anyways, talking about all these, the tag impacts and these free agency improvements, I think the easiest way to kind of elaborate, if you're like C4, what does it really mean? Is think of, and if you're a football fan, it really does remind me of recruiting in the NCAA games, where it's like, all right, people, they want to know your facilities impact if you can recruit them. They want to know close proximity to home, contender, division, like all those different things when you're trying to recruit an NCAA. I feel like they've kind of got some of that into free agency, into trying to attract free agents to your team. And it is definitely something. And I don't want to say definitely something as like you're just trying to find something. Like, it is good. I definitely think making free agency more competitive, especially against AI, so the AI is smarter, and they are going to be aggressive, and your team that you would play for kind of affects that a little bit. I do think they did. And free agency was like that. That's why they're leading this video off. Free agency was easily the biggest impact. The newest features was coming in via this free agency and negotiations. it is done well as far as I can tell. I like it. I think that, again, like, if we're sadly sitting back and viewing franchise mode as a multi-year process of getting all the features you want, like this, if this is gonna be free agency, the staple copy and paste free agency going forward, like, it's pretty much as robust as you could hope a free agency period would be in a football game. And again, I do, just from my personal experience getting in and playing all this free agency stuff, I got more of it. Like, that was the thing that came to my head. I wasn't like, can I try and find something I could compare it to so that people that haven't played the game can get an idea. And like, I did not even thinking about that. Just playing, I was like, this is kind of like the recruiting in NCAA. So that is, and you have like so many time. Oh, you have to allocate time to free agents. Like, that's what they're talking about right now. Active negotiations, different stages. It opens up so you can kind of, hone in on some early targets. AKA, they're making it so you can't just straight up get everybody. And I think maybe in like multi-user leagues, that can be more beneficial. You might feel that a little bit more. And then eventually, as the later you go in free agency, it opens up for an absolute free-for-all. But anytime that you can like genuinely compare something to the last great football game, in my opinion, which is NCAA, it's kind of a plus. Here are the contract offers, which like these here essentially are like pre-made contract offers. It shows you what the likelihood of a player accepting is, or you can straight up just offer your own offer, which is cool. You can have your own customization there. But the fact that they have kind of overhauled contract, this is something that like Swami is working on, right? He's super into contracts, stuff like that. It is what it is. It's not really a feature worth gassing up anything. And they have overhauled the scouting. And as you can see as we go through, I'm actually going to pause it for a second. One thing that I did notice, like I did a video talking about I played Madden franchise mode, is that last year, when you got these experts, right, it was like a mishmash. Like, sometimes it just didn't make sense. Like, if you got O-line, you get like O-tackle, O-guard. So, like, I'm kind of just committing to offensive line with a guy. And, like, here's another guy. He got deep, corners and safeties. This year, it feels like they've definitely broadened the expertise to balance it so you can kind of cover more bases. Like, quarterback, wide receiver. Oh, you still have your guard and tackles. But now you're throwing in guys that one position, their top position would be offense, and their second position would be defense. So at least you're covering a little bit more ground, because that was really the big issue, I think, with the scouting information last year. You just weren't getting enough. There just wasn't enough at the end of the year, and they made the improvement where you can eventually get really late Madden 22, like last patch that we got in Madden 22, you could pretty much get all the information for one positional group and all of a sudden done. So that's giving you like 20, 25 players 100% scouted. We just needed more like that. It just wasn't enough information. There wasn't enough things going on for the scouting from a week-to-week basis. And, that's, I don't know. This is something where, like, I say it as a hardcore fan, does in-depth scouting to the point where it's something you do every single week, is that, what casual players want? Here's a perfect example. I have a buddy in a group chat. He might watch this. And he said that he played the new Madden franchise mode, but he's like, he hated the coaching skill trees. And I was like, fine. If that's something like, a casual player, not someone that like, rushes, gets Madden day one, plays it the full year, but a casual player. Casual players were kind of, seems like almost put off by the coaching tree. Because if you're not willing to get fully immersed in a franchise mode, you just want to pick up as your favorite team, play and win the Super Bowl, fine. And I think that's the demographic that I'm a little bit worried about when we talk about Madden, where we just don't think about them. There's a lot of people that play franchise mode that just want to hop in. They want to pick their favorite team. They want to pick the Buffalo Bills or the Kansas City Chiefs and just go win the Super Bowl. That's all they want to get out of franchise mode. And do they care about scouting every single week, in-depth scouting? Do they care about coaching trees and being able to lock ability and stuff like that? While I think the majority of franchise fans do, if the numbers back up the fact that people aren't using these features, maybe that's why we haven't been getting them, unfortunately. So, point being, I say I want more to do in free agency on the scouting front, and versus like every 4 weeks you can like, all right, we got to sign regional scouting, and then you got 3 guys you can bring in for a private workout at the midway point. I want something to do more on a week-to-week basis, but maybe there's data to back up that people are engaging with that, and they want to keep it as spread out as possible so it's not overwhelming, I guess. Like another situation where it'd just be perfect to throw on a toggle or something like that. So the community feedback. Again, This is where our C4 gets a little bit, I don't want to say salty, but a little bit like off base here. Like, I mean, I don't want to say that I wasn't reached out to this year to like kind of get feedback or anything like that. I wasn't, unfortunately. I have some good ideas that I think I would love to just brainstorm through out of the wall. But draft class tuning, don't think that was honestly a big hang up point with the community. I don't really think there's a whole lot of people saying the draft class tuning. Most people want. The biggest issue with draft class for community feedback was that you couldn't download it off the Madden share. Like, if you said C4 draft class, what's the community saying about draft classes? It's not that they're not overpowered enough. It's not that there's not enough players. It's not like there's not, like we had a couple years ago where like every best player was normal dev and stuff like that. The number one issue with draft class is you can't download it off the Madden share. Franchise hub improvements. I don't think there was a single person that if they were ranking their top 3 things said the franchise hub. So like the main menu that you interact with is anywhere near the top of their priority list. And then you have overall immersion updates. I don't know. Let's see what they say for this. Like, I'll just say this: if this is like how they started, like who community, like where, like am I missing this? Am I so out of touch with the community that these were the top 3 things that they got feedback on that they had to improve? So as you can see, the one new thing about draft class is, and I talked about this in my first review, is like you now have here on the right side, you get a bigger, like just from the main hub, which is it was unoptimized last year. I hated it. Personally, I thought it was tedious to go from player to player. You should be able to like hit A on a player, inspect the player, and then just audit, like right stick, move down through all the different players versus having to go A, look at the guy, hit B, back out, you got to wade through a menu, you can look at the next guy. Like, it was very tedious. But they at least added on like the face value here, like, and this is like the mock draft screen or just looking at the overall draft prospects. You get their 4 stats. Obviously, it is tied to position, so this is outside linebackers. You get block, shed, pursuit, tackling, and zone coverage. But what's he saying here? What are we saying about these draft classes?
These player finds are rare. They come with a high overall rating and will be guaranteed X factors. This is super valuable.
So they're throwing in guaranteed X factors, high overall players in draft classes.
Trade logic, CPU teams will place more players on the trade block and give you more offers.
So you're going to get more players on the trade block, and you're going to get better offers.
We've also added the ability to get immediate trade offers without having to advance the week.
All right, immediate trade offers without having to advance the week. I guess, yeah, quality of life, sure.
Adjustments to team needs logic ensures that teams are valuing higher rated veteran players.
Team needs logics improvement.
Also have more value. This will impact how CPU teams draft and make trade offers.
I mean, the draft and trade logic is definitely something that if draft class improvement engulfs the fact that CPU teams are drafting just terrible players, like franchise quarterbacks going to the teams that already had franchise quarterbacks, like the Arizona Cardinals, like Kyler Murray, they drafted quarterback year 1. We had, how many times the Chargers with Justin Herbert would go out and draft another quarterback? So, they got that right, and I didn't really see any of that through the beta. I was actually having issues when I was playing the beta. My draft would kind of crash a little bit, almost more often than not. But, that is, if you're identifying certainly issues from Madden 22, the logic for these teams was pretty frustrating.
We've also made the activity feed on the left easier to use, and we've decluttered some of the text and improved our transitions for a smoother experience. We're excited about all the improvements coming to franchise in Madden 23. We can't wait for you to experience it yourself.
Did you seriously make that a feature?
Decluttered some in personalization. We've also made the activity feed on the left easier to use, and we've decluttered some of the text.
Decluttering the text on the weekly activity feed is a feature in the franchise blog.
Improvements coming to franchise in Madden 23. We can't wait for you to experience it yourself.
I mean, it's the deep dive. Like, this is what I was expecting. I'm not going to play it up, not going to be triggered, not going to go on some rant. It's what I expected. Like, really, like, people are like, what do you want to see in the deep dive? It's going to be what they talked about already in the blog. They're just going to show a little bit more visual aid with it. I don't know, man. If the direction of Madden this year, I haven't had anyone say this, but the impression is the direction of Madden this year is that they did more under the hood stuff than innovate, than add features. They wanted to get everything under the hood that was an issue last year in Madden 22. There's a lot of bugs, a lot of glitches, a lot of things that should probably be cleaned up, should probably be prioritized. Like, you don't want to, think of it as a car, right? You think of it as a car, and we have an engine that just doesn't run. And everyone in the community is saying we need to get new rims, we got to get new brakes, we got to get six spoiler, like we're in Fast and the Furious. We got to add this to our car this year, and if we don't add it, it's going to suck. This car is going to be brutal. And then this year they said, you know what, those things, yeah, but the engine sucks. We got to fix the engine. And it might not be the sexiest thing. You're not going to see it right away. But if the engine isn't good, then all these other cool things that you add aren't going to work. So let's make sure the engine is good, and then we can kind of go off it. And that's not what most people in this community want to hear. It's not what I want to hear. I want a lot of features. I want enough features that, I can't believe, I can't comprehend how much new stuff there is to do in a franchise mode. Some year that might happen, but this year, definitely light on the features. Madden 23 franchise, more of like a shallow dive than it was a deep dive. But free agency is pretty cool. Reminds me a lot of NCAA and recruiting. And I don't know, man. We just create a team, customization options. There must be data to back up, why they don't want to focus and implement these types of things into the game, or maybe everything going on in franchise mode under the hood is even maybe worse than us as users kind of see. And the guys that are developing the game are like, man, we have to just, half this cycle has to be dedicated to fixing everything under the hood for franchise mode going forward. And I also think there's an element, and this is not just a Madden exclusive issue. It's like where you have last gen and next gen. And like maybe they can do 5-6 new franchise things if it was on next gen, but they have to still think about last gen people because it's it's expensive, and the availability of upgrading to the new Xbox or the new PlayStation, you still have to kind of cater to two audiences, and maybe that's hindering the amount of features and the amount of work. I don't know. But it's gonna be a Madden 23 franchise. I feel like that's what it is. It's not something to be too hyped about. I don't think I'm gonna be bummed out about it, but it's just something that you're gonna just take for what it is and be cautiously optimistic about the live service updates that come at a later date. So let me know what you guys think about Madden 23, the deep dive. If you watched this, what are you guys thinking? Let me know in the comment section below. And I'm working on a banger for this weekend. Make sure you stay tuned for your sub boxes. It'll be out tomorrow. I'm going to a CFL game. CFL's coming to my obscure place where I live in Canada. It's going to be pretty dope. I'll probably post some pictures and videos and stuff like that on Twitter. But if it is your first time stopping by, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Madden 23 season. I'm going to make the team announcement, or franchise team announcement, hopefully next week or the week after. So stay tuned for all that good stuff. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out. Love ya.